Valwyn gets the 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀 treatment. Ossidon drama when it comes to taming. And Astraeos content update, delivering a bit more than we were expecting. You're right, kids, it's Raasclark and welcome to your regular ARK community news. Before we begin, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share around, and let's get into it. Cause holy hell, giant demon dogs of doom are going to be a thing with Lost Colony when that arrives later in December. The next creature teased to arrive with that map when it launches on December the 16th is apparently a giant Cerberus looking mother with an assortment of heavy metal chain-like armor, making this certainly a mountable creature in what appears to be some dark depths of this brand new map. And if you didn't know, this was kind of a creature we always expected, though perhaps not in the appearance I definitely didn't imagine. Because Wildcard explain as we approach the arrival of Arat Prime, this cold-hearted hunter is a regal yet ruthless mount built for single-minded threat elimination, and once infused with a strange substance, and we gotta guess that's probably gonna be red element, right? Hello, the artificial evolution of Valwyns. Because yeah, you might have forgotten when the Valwyn was originally announced, Wildcard did say expect some evolution from this when you take it to Lost Colony. Oh, and I completely forgot until somebody reminded me about this. This is one of two evolutions to expect from the Valwyn, so God knows what the other evolution is going to be if we're getting this monstrosity. With its initial cutie-like appearance, the expectations of what this was going to evolve into when we got to that map was anyone's guesses. To be honest, I was expecting something a bit similar to the Ferox that we get with Genesis 1, but holy hell, this is perhaps way bigger than I was expecting. Though I do wonder whether it's just down to a bit of a perspective jobby with this certain image, whether it's actually as big as it initially appears. It's kind of hard to tell scale-wise in this pic how big it actually is when the survivor's stature could be just as small as my character, but the saddle does seem to look like if it was to house a survivor, it perhaps isn't as big as I'm initially thinking it is. Either way though, this thing looks cool as hell. Heavy metal, nightmare fuel, canine destruction, as the devs say. With enhanced abilities that weaken and slow its prey, the Valwyn isn't interested in play or exploration. It's there to identify a target, destroy it, and move on. Making me feel like we're going to get some ARK iteration of 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀 from the Earthworm Jim cartoons, where once giant and feral, it's a bit of a nightmare to keep tamed and friendly without it ripping your face off too. A bit like a Giga Rage. I wonder if that's going to happen. And with Valwyns initially announced as something you could tame prior to Lost Colony arriving and then transfer over to that map to evolve into these giant monstrous forms, of course people have been breeding, mutating these as much as possible in preparation. But a recent valid point was brought up that Valwyns are already at 1200 melee at birth unofficial. So isn't that going to ruin the base experience for starting the new map? Dolly and the devs do hear us with some discussion surrounding on how they're going to approach this. So it is some wonder on whether Valwyns might actually be cancelled in being able to be transferred to Lost Colony, and it wouldn't be surprising if you consider the other creature that got released this week that definitely sparked somewhat of an argument. The Ossidon. It's now been out for a few days and a lot of you seem to be enjoying this, at least its abilities, and understanding exactly how useful this is as a creature, though initially you wasn't perhaps too pleased. At least aesthetically, this thing looked amazing. It does look amazing. It's arguably one of the best cool looking creatures ARK have released in a while. I think personally it's the best saddle in ARK to date. But anybody attempting to tame these day one will have realised it was nowhere near as strong and ferocious as it looked in the trailer. Max levels literally melting to anything and everything around it, unironically because it's in the snow and melting and all that jazz. But with the snow biome there of course surrounds many of different hostile ferocious beasts to wander into, and all of them ready to tear a Ossidon a new one. A new Ossidon. So something had to be done, and Wildcard quickly released a patch to buff at least its initial health out there in the wild. bumping it up by 30% along with a melee attack damage increase by 35% certainly made them much stronger out there in the wild, as well as wild creatures not aggroing to an Ossidon during taming. Along with a 8-second to 5-second bolus taming cooldown, because we mathed some math that at 150 was completely impossible. Well, hello there, brand new buffed, easier to tame Ossidon. Surely no more was going to get patched to this too quick, was it? No, said Wildcard with the new patch revealing that Ossidons will now prevent absorbing your own dinos during taming or wild riding, though with a buff of the initial timer being increased from 2 minutes to 3 minutes. At the very least, most of those taming vids out there are now completely useless because most people were defaulting to using their own tamed creatures upon discovering it, and why wouldn't you? And especially seeing there was a patch released immediately after the Ossidon arrived, it would further cement the use of tamed creatures, then get reverted. With a wonder why, because tamed creatures surely would have popped up within the testing phase, come on. My only guess might be with the revelation of using zombie dodos because they're tiny and small, so therefore won't stop the Ossidon in its tracks, and of course having that crazy health recharge. Wildcard decided maybe not, and you're going to be forced to use wilds only, though I gotta say, on PvE with all of the pillar spam that you run into, it's a real challenge now. Something I was certain would not be nerfed up until this point because of that reason alone, official PvE pillar spam. But yeah, ARK giveth, ARK taketh away, so now we're forced to figure out some new methods on how to tame this, though we did kind of brush up on a bit of a cool idea with our initial taming video, so at least that video isn't completely irrelevant. Initial feedback from the community has been very mixed. Initially, it does seem like a pretty weak creature. It does seem like definitely no Titan killer. But I did notice myself upon closer inspection initially with all of these different attributes an Ossidon provides, and I love that, by the way, the fact that every single stat actually has some use now. A high food or a high oxygen Ossidon could actually be useful to you now. It still feels like the real power of an Ossidon use is yet to be figured out. In fact, Dolly even mentioned in response to somebody saying, bro, a whopping 5 seconds per tick, that I don't think you're factoring in how hard this creature will scale. And I'm still testing a lot to understand this myself, though it has to be said the physical attributes with this creature, the new system of its physical appearance changing depending on how many levels in each stat it has, is a wondrous welcome. It's a fantastic, unique addition that I hope we get to see with more creatures in ARK as time ticks on, with their attributes all changing, which would make any creature in ARK completely unique. I hope to see more of this wildcard. Very, very cool. Although at the moment, whilst the saddle is pretty damn cool, there's no trace of finding a better than primitive saddle at the moment. It's a wonder if Wildcard haven't included it just yet, and perhaps waiting for Lost Colony, because they're waiting for that for you to at least breed them. And as mentioned earlier, will be locked from being able to be transferred to Lost Colony. So we're left with finding and babyfying the individual Ossidons we can on the Center, Valguero, Raasclark, and yes, Astraeos. They do spawn on there despite Wildcard not saying so. They really should have mentioned that, though it is kind of quite a rare spawn. I still think there's yet to be a few changes around the corner for this creature. Looking at taming specifically, if you don't know, if you mess up any one of the 4 initial taming stages, you're left with completely ruined taming effectiveness, because on that 5th initial stage, if you're on 99% with all of that effectiveness now to rebalance back up to 100%, you're not going to do it. You're going to simply get the effectiveness you get when you start and collect those last few creatures and icicles to butcher your effectiveness. There's no way. They've got to fix that, surely, hopefully. Not mentioning, of course, the initial bug that will not be named, and apparently, according to latest reports since this latest patch, there is some buggy ways with taming. It's sometimes working and sometimes completely broken. Yeah, I think it's a sure thing we'll be seeing some more fixes soon. And I hate to be that first person to say it, but that doesn't spell confidence in Lost Colony's launch. If we've had so many issues with the one singular creature that's meant to be a part of this map, how many bugs are we going to find with Lost Colony at launch? And look, it's nothing new. ARK and bugs go hand in hand. Every time we get a patch, something usually gets broken right. But we want, obviously, Lost Colony to run perfectly, pitch perfect on day one, don't we? Don't we? It's just not going to happen, man. Though one map that's running definitely better than it was a few months ago, though a few reports that on consoles you're having some issues there, but I've got to say personally it's running pretty good for me. Astraeos!
Who?
Astraeos, and we've just been given a brand new look at the content to expect with its next update whenever that arrives, and we've got possibly a better idea at that now. But holy hell, Rock Drake's bioluminescence, it's coming, being added with what's definitely a Scorched Earth extension of the giant Grecian themed map. With map creator 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀 certainly putting a lot of effort into his version of Aberration on Valguero, gotta say, definitely looks a heck of a lot better than the Aberration's Aberration. I'm really excited to see his take on the bioluminescence region within this next update, with the wonder if it's going to arrive, of course, with molten element regions as well, because originally that's where Rock Drake eggs exist, to add to the already existing fertile region within the Lemnokis update we had a few months ago. And location-wise, I've possibly got an idea on where this might start. There's an area within the desert, within the east side of the giant Scorched Earth desert that's going to be arriving with that, and an expected arrival of a bunch of brand new Scorched Earth related content. Of course, new artifact caves to get a brand new boss to possibly face, and within this deep sunken cavern does appear to be what seems to be a narrow entrance through to a brand new indescribable meshy looking world, because it's not complete yet. You can't really go there just yet if you don't know that, by the way. And already seeing everything behind the border in its early works, with now the inclusion of a bioluminescent region with rock drakes, of course, and everybody loves a rock drake, don't you? This next map update that seems to be arriving early in next year, if judging by 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀's tweet, seems to be that map that's going to have literally anything and everything that you need in ARK to tame. Except maybe Yeelings, because I heard 𝘁𝗁𝗏 doesn't like them. But one thing this map doesn't have, at least permanently, is murder turkeys. These, right here. They arrive with the Turkey Trials event every year, usually with ARK, and are of course a force to be reckoned with you needing to shotgun these in the face to claim the wishbones that you can to make all of the cool cosmetics that arrive with this event. And it's coming back to ARK again, which is a joyous welcome when you consider last year's Turkey Trials event was pretty much just a colour event. There wasn't much added to that. With Wildcard explaining running from November the 26th until Wednesday, December the 3rd, to expect the usual 2x rates all the way up to 5x on ARK POC, with the event skins you've known from before, event emotes, a super turkey chibi, and event colours as usual. No mention and absence of the actual super turkeys. I would have expected them to be in this list, but we do know from the mod playing it 2 years ago that super turkeys do definitely exist with this mod, and let's face it, you can't craft any of these skins without wishbones, so I imagine to see them with this event it would make sense. But I'm going to be expecting once again the lack of a tameable Dodo Rex. It was something that we had in Turkey Trials events prior to ARK Ascended, whereby at the cost of I think 400 wishbones you could craft your very own temporary Dodo Rex tame. But with no mention of this within the community crunch, I think you better brace yourself. That's probably not going to be something that we're going to be seeing with ARK this year. Something we will be seeing though, hello 𝘁𝗶𝗀 TLC. It's locked in as your number 2 TLC vote. That is it. That is going to be the brand new one, joining the Aranio as the TLCs we're going to be finding, I guess, sometime next year, with whatever's in 3rd, 4th and 5th place being locked in every consecutive week. And it was a surprising dramatic change just at the last minute on the last day, if you didn't know. A massive giant $2,000 donation got dropped in on the final day to cement the 𝘁𝗁 in that 2nd spot, which pushed the Therizino down to 3rd place, which now apparently has been pushed to 4th place. But there's not quite a lot in it between the Theri and the Giga, with Megalo still holding strong on that 5th place. And to be fair, quite a leap to that 6th place. I don't think we're going to be finding anything new joining that initial 5 places, with a massive 10 grand difference between 6th and 5th place. And it's without question a welcomed one. Once upon a time, the 𝘁𝗁 was the go-to tame for everybody and anybody out there. But then the RG got a TLC and pretty quickly nerfed the 𝘁𝗁 into the ugly beaked giant base space filling monolith that truly does deserve something for it to be once again heralded as the king of flyers as it once was. What that'll be, of course, is anyone's guess. It's down to Wildcard how they're going to TLC this in both abilities and physical appearance. And whilst they did increase their speed a few months ago, I don't feel like it's made any difference to people desiring to tame these anymore. Personally, once again, looking at Kraken's better dinos, who did a great job at some adjustments on the Quetzal, such as a just slightly larger platform saddle, though would have some PV issues with that one, but some great omnidirection, being able to fly straight up and straight down. Is that omnidirection? I'm curious what we're going to get with this TLC, and look forward to your comments below on what you think you're hoping for the Quetzal TLC. But until then, maybe get a bit inspired by the 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀, a brand new creature, a brand new mod being made by the 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 mod team that really does seem to carry that premium price tag. A very gorgeous looking creature, a wonderful Unreal Engine primed model, unique saddle, and some very cool abilities up its sleeve. And a big congratulations to the team in executing this one. I think this one is definitely being welcomed by the community, and I've got to be checking this one out very soon myself. With a wonder, could this possibly be influencing the Quetzal TLC instead? But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you're hoping to expect with this one. And good grief, Malwyn looks like a monster. I can't wait. I'm loving the theme and aesthetics with this one. Heavy metal, dark, moody, zombie-ish, vampire-ish looking vibes. I'm all about that. I love that life. I can't wait to get stuck in. It's going to be here pretty soon, in a couple of weeks. You know, it really is. So until then, my name is Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always,